It's about earning passive income in bear markets. It's quite a topic. So let me welcome our panelists. We will have 3 panelists today. First one is Martynas Kasiulis, Head of Business Development at Gamestarter. And we will have Cem Miralay. Yes, you can come to the stage. We will have Cem Miralay, the Chief Revenue and Product Officer at Uphold. Thank you very much. Welcome. Hoş geldiniz. And Cem Miralay is the Chief Revenue and Product Officer at Uphold, as I told. And we have İsmet, Tasçeken, the founder and CEO of IntellyTech.
This one, right?
Please also welcome İsmet, Tasçeken. Hoş geldiniz siz de. And this panel will be moderated by Amitoj Singh. He's a journalist at Coindesk, so let me welcome him as well. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Hello, Istanbul. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I know it's the morning. I need a coffee too. I totally get it. I've just flown in from India and I'm finding it difficult to just catch up with these gentlemen. And I have to say out here, in the interest of representation, I wish there was a woman on the panel. I just have to say that right now. But then again, I spoke to these guys. They're not bad. They're quite charming. I'll let you show that, let them show that to you in just a bit. A few things that were not said in the introduction, and I just want to point to that out here. Cem was 10 years at Microsoft. So he's going to tell you a little bit about that. You know, we have a number of people, and I was in Austin, Texas for Consensus that Coindesk does, and there was just an amazing energy out here. And I can see right now that that energy is getting replicated very early on out here. And one of the questions that we were all discussing, and it came out there from him, interestingly, remember, we are not for gun violence. We're not for gun violence, but gun to these people's head, which coin would they invest in today during a bear market? Cem, you start.
You're putting, it's a difficult question, to be honest with you, Johnny, but if you put a gun to my head, I think I would go with ETH. And the reason why I would go with Ethereum, is that I think Ethereum probably has the biggest chance in leading the digital currencies and taking over from Bitcoin. That's my view.
That's a very long-term perspective you're taking, though.
It is.
Yeah. And by the way, we're still trying to figure out whether it's a big day for ETH today and Ethereum today. But we'll be telling you a little bit more about that in just a bit. Okay. Martynas, the question that you posed as the question that we should start the discussion with, he's going for ETH. What's your coin?
I mean, I have to go to ETH as well.
Okay.
I mean, you stole my answer, man. I mean, it's about having a layer 1 token. It's about something which you can see the genesis of. That's the reasoning. Because after we saw what panned out in the last 6 months, I mean, I'm quite feeling good about my pick. What about you?
So if we have to discuss about a single coin, as you asked, I'm always a follower of the original. So I would say Bitcoin. Yeah.
Well, can you throw a little bit more light on that? Just why? Because there are so many coins out there, and I'm coming from India where the regulation is very clear. The signals that we're getting from the government is that reporting on this, that the finance ministry in India is going to be considering banning most cryptocurrencies, but they may keep some of these cryptos, the big ones, ETH, Bitcoin, going just to promote the underlying technology. Now, this was 6 months back. Have things changed? We don't know. So I just want to know why Bitcoin. Is it because regulation is favorable towards Bitcoin, they understand it's too big to fail, or something else?
Why Bitcoin? I can say that if you paid attention, I don't know if anybody is watching many people so far since the morning, everything is going around Bitcoin. It's the leader that's showing us where everything we are discussing about here today could go. So it's the thing that enables every project which which are present here to achieve something in this blockchain economy, I can say. That's the main and obvious reason, I guess.
Okay. So earning passive income during a bear market. Before we get into how to earn passive income, I just want to understand, how do you define a bear market? Have we hit bottom? Have we not hit bottom? What is going on? What's your interpretation?
I love that question. Yeah. If I knew that we had hit bottom, I would become a millionaire and I wouldn't have to work. So, but I'm not that good at it. I think volatility in markets is a natural thing. Whether we're talking about digital currencies, whether we're talking about equities, we have seen it go up and down. So I don't know the answer to your question.
Do you guys know if you hit bottom? Just want to know.
Yeah.
No?
It really depends, right? So for us, for example, we're a launch pad. So we see projects coming up, the quality is increasing. So for us, from a business standpoint, this is an amazing time. We don't see ourselves in a bear market. But if you look at our portfolios, might not want to do that before having a good night's sleep. It really depends where you stand and where you started. This gentleman right here talked about dollar cost averaging while we were talking together. I think he's going to extrapolate on that.
I'm going to stop you there. Yeah. I'm going to stop you there. What is dollar cost averaging and why do you say Cem? So Cem's a big proponent out here of dollar cost averaging if you want to make money, passive income during a bear market. And I'm asking him right now, just for the sake of those who are uninitiated in this conversation, what is dollar cost averaging?
Okay. So dollar cost averaging is an incredibly simple investment strategy. It basically means that you invest a certain amount on a regular basis on one or multiple assets. It's as simple as that. It's you decide that you're going to buy, let's say, $100 worth of Ethereum every week. You go on Uphold.com, you set up an automated buy in about a couple of seconds, and then you buy $100 worth of Ethereum every week. You don't think about the price, you just buy it. Because trying to figure out when we hit bottom is a very difficult thing. And I'm clearly not a very good investor, but also some of the best investors in the world use this strategy of dollar cost averaging. You just buy for the long term. And actually, when it's a bear market, that's even better, because my $100 a week buys more ETH today than it did a few months ago.
Okay. And for all of you out here, at some point, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands with a question that is going to be at least 1 or 2 sentences. Please don't keep it longer than that. If you have a question, raise your hand throughout the session so that I know that who is it that has a question. If there are no questions, I'll continue to go ahead with this, okay? That's just one thing. I just want to stop you out there. I'm going to grill him a bit about this, okay? Dollar cost averaging, you're saying invest in the long term, but how do you know where to start? How do you know, okay, this is the coin that I'm going to go for and I'm just going to forget about it?
Okay. So, I mean, look, investing is a difficult thing to do. Hence why I think investing in a single asset is not the best strategy. So diversifying your portfolio is a pretty good strategy. Therefore, you set out and create for yourself the opportunity to be able to create long-term growth. Whether, and in an emerging world like digital currencies, that's even more difficult. You know, you just talked about the Indian government, for example, trying to ban some of the digital currencies. Thinking of it. But I actually think that consolidation is going to happen naturally over time as digital currencies become mainstream, and they will become mainstream.
But then how is it passive income if you're constantly watching what's happening in this space?
Yeah. And
you have to be tuned in all the time. Then is it really passive?
Well, I mean, look, passive income is through staking. So just to touch on that, if you don't mind. So staking is basically, and I'll only talk about proof of staking, where you earn rewards for staking assets on some of the networks that allow proof of staking. And basically, if you're on a strategy for long-term investment and you are regularly buying assets, then it makes sense, in my view, to then use those assets to stake them on the network so that you will effectively earn reward while your assets on the network are effectively helping the network develop. So you're not losing anything because you're investing long term. That's my view, and again, that's, like I said, that's the view of analysts that I see from NASDAQ, people like Warren Buffett. They have been employing this strategy for a long time, successfully.
Warren Buffett, a crypto naysayer, who is saying this is how you got to go about it, which is interesting. Okay, Ismet, I want to come to you. You have a background at the intersection of Turkey, of Switzerland, of real estate, of London. Just give me a sense of how we can, or anyone out here can actually make passive income during a bear market in the metaverse using real estate.
Yes. Yeah. So our project could be an idea for people to understand how we can make passive income generating blockchain related investments. So our project is a nice example of that, I guess. So maybe it can help people to understand it. So what we are working on is a platform which enables people to invest in real estate in real life using completely blockchain and fully staying in crypto. So as you know, real estate is one of the safest kind of investments in the world since the start of humanity, I can say. So enabling people to invest in small fractions and based in US dollars but through crypto generates a great passive income actually. So the idea here is that our platform is just an example. I could encourage people to look for diversification, look for new kind of visionary companies investing in this area maybe, so that they can find good profit generating projects while even there is a bearish market. So this might light up something in people's head, I believe.
Give me an example of a client of yours who actually did that, who has used blockchain to buy real estate. Give me an example. How did that go?
How that goes? So our project is completely related with the real world. So that part is the hard part actually. So how we can manage that is this is my family business for a long time, and we know how real estate works internationally. So you buy an asset and you fractionalize it into pieces, and you relate it to a newly generated coin or token. So the holders of these tokens represent the owner of the fraction rate they own of the real estate. So this is the main logic of how owning a real estate on blockchain works.
And how many people are doing it right now? How many people are doing it right now?
Oh, many people are doing it right now. Many companies are working in many jurisdictions around the world, and we are also connection in many regulators all around the world with many governments, and they are trying to catching up to this sector, specifically governments and legal authorities, regulators. So it's exponentially rising, this specific sector.
And even in this climate, even in crypto winter?
Yes, of course.
Okay, wow, that's interesting. Okay, Martynas, you're an educator, you're a media guy also, so give me a reality check. Is what everyone has spoken about so far even possible during a bear market, or the chances are so low that one should really try it? and also at the same time, just give me a sense of the whole concept of passive income and bear markets, because one of the formulas that, and I was watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, CZ was effectively talking about how you should just pick a few projects, study them intensely, and then invest in them. And only after you know what they are all about. He was a big proponent of not putting good money after bad money, with the thought of just making sure that first you understand it's bad money that's been put in the first place. Yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah, there's nothing passive about passive income. That's the issue. The amount of knowledge you need to have about each project, each sector, is problematic. As my friend to my right said brilliantly, you need to diversify, but what does that mean? You now need to have additional knowledge about each sector. But if you don't do it, if you have all of your eggs in one basket, essentially if it goes down, you go down with the ship. So the best way you can do this is micro-dosing on information. So you take a project, for example, I'm a big proponent of gaming. Having a gaming launchpad, gaming studio gives us an advantage. When you create a game, you see how bloody difficult it is. You can now understand when someone tells you, we'll create a World of Warcraft, a League of Legends in 2 years. How many developers do you have? 5. Good luck, boss. You're not going to do it. That's how you develop that niche knowledge. You understand what to look for. And you try and do that with each and every investment. CC was absolutely on the money. Now, it's very hard to do on the blockchain side because, just like my friend to the left, the regulatory system doesn't allow you to say certain things unless you want to get a hefty fine. Essentially, especially in the US. So what we're seeing is a lot of great companies every single day coming into the space. We see capital coming into the space. We see the media reporting about it. But what they're not reporting is the amount of pain you go to understand what can you do and what you can't do. And then you also need to manage people's expectations. People expect that the game that they invested in will be ready in 2 to 3 months. That's not realistic. It's 2 and 3 years to create something tangible. So essentially, the advice would go down like this. There's nothing passive about it. Pick a niche which you can essentially explain to your 5-year-old cousin, and then simply dive down the rabbit hole. That's your passive income source. Once you know it inside and out, once you can put your money and forget about it, that's another thing, which this market is suffering for over leverage. I mean, it's endemic at this point. We've seen what happened in the last 6 months. We don't need to get into it. Essentially, what we need to do is understand passive income needs to be a part of your portfolio, a part of what you are doing. People think that there's such a thing as easy money. Of course, in crypto, we see the money flowing in, but now we saw the money flowing out as well. So my advice to everyone, always think of the money flowing out before you YOLO.
All right. Well, that was a dark picture. We have a hand out there. We have a hand out there, and we have a hand out there. So I got 3 questions lined up. I'm going to come to you, then him. But I have 1 question out here, if you don't mind. Can I? Yeah? Thanks. This is interesting because you're somebody who understands corporate structure very well. You worked with Microsoft for a long period of time. And you understand that these corporate companies are putting in guardrails when scrutiny is attacking them, right? Whether it be from the media or the regulators, and particularly during a time when even retailers who we are asking right now to investigate these small projects themselves, even they are trying to find information about companies. And you're now running an exchange effectively, a digital assets platform. So when you have your guardrails up, when you have put a jail in front of you, how can they get information from you to actually understand whether to invest during a bear market and get that passive income?
What a question. I guess the answer to that is that we have been used to understanding the value associated with, let's say, a stock like Microsoft or Amazon or whatever. And that's because we've been investing in shares of companies for hundreds of years now. We haven't done that in digital currencies. And I think overall, and all of us, that includes us, some of us who are actually within this industry, to understand and articulate the value associated with some of the digital currencies. And I think the creation of literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of digital currencies that may not have as much value it confuses consumers. So I think ultimately one of the things that we try and do is we try and share with our customers what their peer group is trying to do. I think that's a really powerful way of getting.
Are you sure about the information that you yourself are getting from those companies, from those, projects?
No, so we share what the projects are doing and what they're saying, but more importantly, we share what their peers are doing. So what are the other investors doing?
But this information is theirs, and they are sharing that information with you, or are you finding it out yourself?
We share what happens on our platform.
Okay.
So if we have a lot of people buying a certain asset, we just tell you that. We don't advise you. We just tell you what your peer group does. And it's almost the same as when you're going to go on a holiday and you choose a hotel. You look at what your peer group says about that hotel, and you feel more comfortable.
All right. Okay. Can we have a mic up there? Just want to get a mic. Yeah, it's just coming. Just give it a second. We just want to make sure the people at the back can hear you. Just remember to keep your questions short. We don't want a lecture from anyone. Thank you. Please.
So, first of all, thanks for your wise words. I have a question for Martynas. How you identify a good gaming company / gaming studio?
Basically, how do I identify a good project, right?
Yes.
First of all...
Gaming company. How do you identify a good gaming company?
It's a game company. Oh, that's a good one. So, first of all, a good game company has to have 3 fundamentals. 1, track record. Have they actually created a game that works? Number 2, are they creating a gimmick, or is the number 1 thing for it to be fun and playable? Essentially, at Gamestarter, we have a saying, gaming first, blockchain second. As a product, every one of us, we've played Flappy Bird. We've played, your mother most likely has played some version of a Facebook game, Candy Crush is not advertising. Essentially, it has to be fun first. And you have to see if the team is putting the tokenomics at the forefront, or as we call it, pumponomics. Look at the cap table. Essentially, if you see the team getting early unlocks, or the VCs getting ridiculously good deals where they buy and where you buy in, essentially you are their exit liquidity. And it's easy to see, after you saw 100 cap tables, it's easy to identify, okay, these guys are in it for the long haul, or these guys are just in it for the short-term goals. And the third one, roadmap. If it starts with, we will organize events, get out immediately. It's about creating a game. It's about creating code. It's about creating a game requires you to have a developer, a designer, hitting heads on the keyboard together in unison in order to create something resembling a fun experience. If they have more marketing people than they have developers, than they have actual designers that have actually built something, get out as well. Last thing, doxed. If you see a dog picture, a bored ape, get out. Don't come near it. It has to be a doxed team. These people have to have the same standards of Web 2 as they have for Web 3. That's where we're going.
Well, he reminded me right now of that film Get Out, which is quite scary actually. Kept saying get out, get out, get out. Yeah, we have a question there. Thank you.
Hi. Good morning. We typically hear that a bear market is a builder's market, right? Because bull market is where there is a lot of noise. So interestingly, the panelists started off saying about the fundamentals, which is layer 1, focus on Ethereum. But in the last 3 months, we have seen the interoperability and cross-chain space, or rather the layer 0 space, exploding. So for example, you have projects like Router Protocol, which is pretty much doxed, solid team, which has gone up 300, 400%, MIT alumnus, and other similar projects, right? I just wanted the panelists' views on the interoperability space, because if you look at the start of email, it would be funny to have an email which only works on Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or Safari, right? You would want your mail to work on all the browsers. So similarly, what do you think is the role of interoperability going into the next cycle of crypto?
Who wants to take that?
Can you sum up the question again?
Well,
This was a really
I
long
think
one.
he's talking about interoperability, and he's talking about zero chain. He's basically saying that when you're looking at what's happening right now, everyone's been talking about certain sections of the crypto economy, but you're not really looking at interoperability. And he's asking that question because we started on the fundamentals, technical analysis and all that. So I think you'd be suited to take this on. I think we were kind of talking about this before also, because when you're talking about interoperability, one of the things that you got to consider is the fact that this is a circular economy in many ways. You know, we've seen that with Luna, what happened. You know, how everyone's kind of connected. Everyone's put money in everyone's investment, and therefore when it goes to retailers, it eventually comes back to somebody or the other who invested the money. So the interdependence of interoperability, if you could talk a little bit about that, I think that's what he was referring to also.
I guess, look, we can't do investment advice. It's as simple as that. So let's just put that aside. But I think when I look at where to invest, you really need to understand the fundamental value that sits with a project. I think that's critically important.
The fundamental value that sits with a?
Yeah, with a project. It's critically important that you need to understand that. And I think we come back to study, understand the different assets, understand what the underlying value is. So, for example, there is H-bar, there are hash graph. It creates a completely different and alternative to blockchain. So you may think that that's actually going to become a leading thing, and you therefore decide to invest in that. And you do that in a conscious way. And that's the way that I look at the market. That's the way that I would go about learning about different assets. And I think that's critical. And then making those bets. And at a time, though, this is really important, at a time where we are at its infancy, digital currencies are at its infancy, in my view, the value comes from creating the ability to move value around, as simple as we have come to move information around through the internet. And that's what we need to focus on. Is there a magic 8-ball that we can look at and say this is what's going to be the next Bitcoin? I wish, but it's not as easy as that, unfortunately.
I wish we could all be crystal ball gazers. I hope that answered your question, and if it didn't, you find me and I'll grab them for you after this, okay? We had one more question, the third person who'd raised their hand. Who was the third person initially who had raised their hand? It was one of the both of you. No, I want to give the chance to the person out there who'd raised their hand initially. Right here, you can walk across there. Thank you. Sorry about that. We're running out of time. I think we're kind of out of time, right? Just give me a time slot, if you can. Yes, your question.
Hello, I'm very nice to be here. My question was about, for example, Luna, how the way it crashed. I was wondering, is there going to be a way for the blockchain to prevent something like this to ever happen again, or so investors could feel safe investing? Thank you.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if we're all qualified to answer that question because we're not in an MIT lab right now. By the way, that's happening at MIT. They're trying to figure out an answer to that. But why don't you take that?
Alrighty, this is a tough pickle. All right, here's a way to think about it. We are human. Blockchain is created by humans. That's the internal. Luna was met its end because of hubris. It was because of ego, mostly. There are interesting videos about it. Essentially, it is about, can blockchain solve this? First of all, we need to all be on the same page of what we want to create, on what we value as a blockchain and in the blockchain. When we achieve that consensus, the blockchain side is actually the easy side. If you talk to a CTO, he'll tell you, I can do almost anything. You tell me what to do. It's about getting consensus about what we are actually aiming for. Thus, these conferences are so important, so we're all on the same page. So I think blockchain, can it prevent something like that? The underlying technology wasn't the issue. It was about how people used it and how they over-leveraged themselves. Essentially, it's about how you use the tool, not the tool itself.
But you can potentially create a mechanism that will not allow them to over-leverage.
Again, you could, but I already feel that somewhere in Asia, somebody is thinking, I'll crack that. Essentially, you can create any mechanism and you think it's perfect, someone will crack it. Essentially, it has to be a battle. It's a back and forth. There'll never be a perfect system because they're created by imperfect beings.
All right, we have another question out there. The gentleman raising his hand. Can we get the mic to him, please? Thank you so much. He's been walking very fast. Can we give him a round of applause? This gentleman who keeps giving the mic around. Yeah. All right, you can take it now. You can give the mic. He's enjoying the applause. I like that. Yes, please.
Hi, this is John from Mythical Excellent.
Just speak as clearly as possible because we couldn't hear some of the questions clearly. Yeah.
All right, is it cool right now? Thank you. This is John from Mythical Excellent. I just want to ask you, when do you think it will happen, the transition of the point of view to this industry? Will transition happen from easy money to valuing the easy money to use case? What is needed to make that happen?
I couldn't hear that question clearly. Could you repeat it?
Of course. What I'm saying is, when do you think it will, this transition of the point of view of the industry will take place from easy money, valuing the easy money, to use case? There are a lot of use cases in the projects, but you know, billionaires are just spoiling the industry by backing up some meme tokens. Governments are just raising their hands with the regulations.
We got the gist.
Yeah. So he's basically
It's
asking that when people gonna start thinking all of the things we are discussing here right now is all about reaching easy money, when we are gonna eliminate this and we see this as a serious thing that can leap everything up. So the really basic answer to this is, I believe we need still a lot of time for everyone, individuals, new generations growing up, and the leaders of related governments. I'm talking about the same thing, but this is necessary so that we can have safety and we can have better and safe and professional use case for this technology.
You say a lot of, we still need a lot of time.
Yeah.
And his question is when? So well, define the time.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
So
I want to give him a chance to actually answer it, then you can jump in. Yeah. When? Give me a time frame.
I think we need another 10 to 15 years to completely forget about reaching easy money. Whatever you do, whatever your job is, everybody thinks mostly in the countries that are really into crypto, everybody, whatever they do, whatever their job is, they're thinking about, okay, I need to buy this dog pictured coin or any coin other than that. I need some 100,000% profit on this in very short time. I think in 10 to 15 years, people will forget mainly thinking like that to looking at it as a professional thing that helping humanity in every case that we are living every day. Yeah.
All right.
But please, I want to hear what.
Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say. Sure.
Yeah, I guess use cases exist today. If you look at traditional banking, you want to send some money from, let's say, the US to Turkey. It's going to cost you a lot, and it's going to take days for it to get there. On a platform like Uphold, for example, you will be able to do that for free instantly, regardless of where you are in the world. And that is a real use case for consumers.
No, but his question is not about that. His question isn't about that. He's not questioning the fact that that is a use case. He's saying, what about the other use cases that we are so used to in our life?
I understand. And so there are a bunch of other use cases that we can get to. So think about buying real estate. I think this is a really good example. In the US, it's a complex process of having money go into escrow and so on and so forth that you need to follow through. That means cost, and that means time. With smart contracts, for example, we can turn that whole process into something that is incredibly easy.
So what you're saying is effectively that itself is the biggest use case we have currently ongoing. Therefore,
well, correct.
We do have
but there are so many use cases.
Yeah.
So many use cases like that.
Okay.
And it's evolving. Every day we see new use cases being effectively coming to play.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. And I was actually hearing about Turkey a little bit and reading about Turkey. And I learned that the bank out here, the central bank, had effectively said, well, banned crypto from being used as a legal tender, which could have been a use case out here. And it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out, because I believe there's a legal case ongoing. Somebody has filed a petition about that. So that's going to be interesting. Well, we're unfortunately out of time. As much as I would like to spend more time with all of you, it has been a pleasure. To the panelists, thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause to the panelists, please? Yeah. If you guys want to talk to them, we're getting off the stage. You can catch them in the corner and corner them, and then ask all the questions you want. Thank you so much for giving us this time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amitoj, for this wonderful moderation, and thank you very much for our panelists as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.